What does my Letterboxd top 4 say about me? Currently, my Letterboxd top 4 does change sometimes. At the moment, I have a list that's been pretty set for the past year since around April. So these movies are in no particular order, and like I said, it changes. And today I just want to talk about these four. The first one is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's also the oldest movie on this list, and it's one of my favorite movies from the 80s. I think all of us, when we watched this movie, wished we could walk that day in Ferris's shoes and just have fun, just go out and do some crazy stuff while skipping school. It is one of the most influential coming of age films of any era, and I do think that still today so many movies draw from this film, and John Hughes was just a fantastic writer. He made some of the best coming of age stories, and this one is the one that stands out the most for me. It's a movie that I really can't wait to watch again. I've seen it a couple of times, but every time there is something new that you can take from it, something new that you can enjoy about it. And the second movie that's currently in my top 4 is Oppenheimer. This is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. It just looks amazing, and the writing is just so beautiful. Christopher Nolan really poured his heart into this movie, and it does show. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and to think it only came out last year, and I consider it a masterpiece, a movie that so many filmmakers can learn from, and so many writers can pick up cues from Christopher Nolan. He is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, and truly, he is an inspiration. And this movie is an inspiration. And I'm also not just talking about the movie itself, but the acting, the way Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. just brought their A game is just fantastic. Oppenheimer is really an interesting story, and it was told in such a wonderful way. And next, I have Dune Part 2. I've talked about this movie a lot this year. I do think it's still the best movie of 2024, even though it does have some competition, but I'll talk about that at the end of the year. I think this is a stunning movie. What Denis Villeneuve did with this movie is just so wonderful. Like I said before, I liked the first Dune movie, and I thought it was groundbreaking, but this one just kicked it up a notch, and it took it to another level with Timothée Chalamet delivering one of his best performances to date, and all of the cast were just fantastic. I think that there is just something in this movie that will inspire future space operas or sci-fi movies. Uh, we all know that George Lucas definitely took inspiration from the Dune book to write Star Wars, and in a sense, the Star Wars movies later inspired the Dune movie, and all of them are masterpieces. Not all the Star Wars movies, obviously, but the first two at least of Star Wars, and then this one. They are fantastic movies, and I do love myself a good space opera. And the last movie is a little interchangeable with its sequel and its prequels, and that is Avengers Infinity War. The Avengers movies just mean so much to me. It's the movies that actually kickstarted my journey into being the movie guy. Some of the first movies that I reviewed were part of the MCU, and Infinity War was the start of the end of the Infinity Saga. People say that the movie has its faults, but it's a perfect movie for me, as well as Endgame. This movie reminded us that even though it looks like the end, it might not be the end, and that sometimes we do have to lose a few battles in order for us to regroup and win the war. It's just fantastic. Thanos is an amazing villain. I mean, I don't think there is another villain like this that had so much power and at the end of the day actually won against the heroes. Sure, you can name a few great villains who came pretty close or who did some horrendous things like Loki or Voldemort or whoever you can think of, but no one came as close to victory like Thanos. In fact, he actually did win in this movie. If Thor went for the head, then he obviously would have lost. But it's just a brilliant, brilliant movie and one of the best in the MCU. I still think that The Winter Soldier is the best MCU movie, but this one is just almost as good. It's near perfect. And like I said, I can change this one up with Avengers Endgame or the first Avengers movie or even Captain America Civil War. All of them are fantastic movies and movies that really drove the superhero genre as well as the interconnected universe movies or TV show stuff. Yeah, that's my top four for now. I know it will definitely change sometime in the future. I have been thinking of changing it up. I just forgot to do that. But right now, I do think I feel comfortable with these four movies. And what do they say about me? Well, obviously, I have different tastes in movies, but I do prefer movies with more comedy, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and the Avengers movies. I do love action movies, and I do love a good story. That's the one thing that's the most important to me, a good story. I need the story that draws me in and keeps me captivated throughout the whole film. I can't go to the cinema for 2 to 3 hours and not be drawn into the story and not be entertained. Entertainment is one of the most important qualities of any film. I know people like these art house films that are experimental and so on, and that's great. I do love some of those movies as well. But for me, the story is the most important, and the visuals. What I see on screen has to stay with me. I need to go back to that memories and think of how beautiful a shot looked, or how beautiful a scene looked, or how amazing these actors perform. And yeah, that's basically what my Letterboxd top four says about me. Let me know what your top four movies on Letterboxd are.